Now we focus on the open seat for Tarrant County District Attorney.
Morning, or whatever it is, fellow pissed off parent folkies. Try to come up with something clever every single time I do it. Also, of course, one-man show trying to get different things set up. And I'm again learning as I go through the process. Let's see if I can fix one situation here. Enabling live chat for anyone that would like to chat in the old box there. I think I got most of that there. But anyway, wanted to... there was this Eye on Politics with CBS News. They had a recent sit-down with both the Tarrant County District Attorney challengers here for the DA race here in Tarrant County. We have Tiffany Burks and Phil Sorrells, and each side got to kind of talk about, what they are hoping to bring to the table and what they can offer and things like that, and letting the people listen to them, hear what they have to say, maybe hear what they aren't saying, and then, being an informed voter, shocker, oh God. Again, I know most people don't pay too much attention to this, but they should, because if they want things to change, they're going to need to get involved, learn some things, get educated, share the information, and then, hopefully we can, make some positive upward change here, or, we just get the same thing we've always had. And yes, I've added soundboard stuff to what I have, so trying to make it even more entertaining than what it already is. How do you spice up some boring stuff? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and obviously offer my commentary, some other information as they're talking through their positions and points on things, and let the viewers decide. So let's go ahead and get this train a-rolling.
Now we focus on the open seat for Tarrant County District Attorney. Republican Sharon Wilson is retiring after entering office in January 2015. We spoke with both candidates, Republican Phil Sorrells and Democrat Tiffany Burks, about their priorities. And we begin with Tiffany Burks.
I think people should select me because I have the experience, the qualifications, the leadership ability to do this job. For 24 plus years, I've been a prosecutor. So the job is exactly what I've been doing for my entire career. I've tried well over 150 jury trials. I have promoted to deputy chief in the office where I supervised over 100 lawyers. I help with policy in the office. I implemented programs in the office like the police liaison program that's still in existence today. I've been called upon to train and mentor young lawyers and some old in the office, and I've also been called upon to train across the state, speaking with the State Bar of Texas, speaking for the Texas District and County Attorneys Association, 400 or 500 people at a time. And so I have the experience and the qualifications, but more than anything else, I have the passion and the drive for this job. The people of this community mean a lot to me. I've been talking to the people in this community for well over a year now. And I think it's important that in order for us to be good public servants, we have to listen to the needs of those we serve. And so that's why I think people should pick me. I'm someone who not only has the experience, but someone who cares about the job.
If elected,
real quickly, and if you're paying attention, I put a few of the many articles that are in various newspapers from when she started her career back in 1999. Different things. Actually, but there's so many things. It's one of those, I get that whole, there's so much information to show on this candidate that it's just kind of hard to bite-size everything, and people have to, I guess, pause the playback and read through the articles. But one of the thing of note is actually Tiffany Burks she was being known as Gun Girl. Not for you Call of Duty folks, but gun girl because she was, taking on and having good success with prosecuting these violent crimes and things like that. So she was able to go in there. Now I did, again, because I like to show both sides, and you'll see in here, I know I'll probably end up getting accused of I'm team Tiffany or whatever, but I do have some criticisms, and one of them is actually later in this video, and it's just something we can obviously talk about and kind of work through. But she has a documented history of following the law and prosecuting and getting it done. I did show in there actually one where she lost. And that one, which I actually have a video that even talks further about it. But everyone's familiar with Jan Couch, who's the mother of the influenza teen. And when she was, and again, you need to pay attention to this because it comes in handy later when talking actually to her opponent in this race and listening to what he says and things like that, because it all kind of pieces together. But she actually lost the fight to get Jan Couch's bail revoked, because I'm assuming everyone here in Tarrant County knows the name, knows what happened with Jan Couch's son, the influenza teen, killing those other kids and then repeatedly breaking bond. And then also the mother, Jan, took her son to Mexico to get out of whatever was going to happen there. And then she was brought, or when they came back and arrested, she was put on a bond that she broke, two separate, well, actually multiple counts, but in this one instance, she had done two different things that was prohibited by her bond. And Tiffany was kind of like the lone voice saying, no, revoke her bond, throw her in jail. She didn't abide by the terms of law and do that. And a judge overruled her and let her back out. And well, hopefully we all know kind of what happened from there, with being lenient on that, which is kind of I guess sometimes a judge thing. I don't know, but again, she has a well-documented history, easily accessible. I mean, I'm not a brain surgeon here. I is doing Google research and looking at newspapers and things like that, and finding all this, because researching the candidates, it's not that hard to get a hold of.
What are your top priorities?
I have several. I think mental health and drug addiction is a huge concern here in our county. There's been concern about fentanyl abuse, the amount of fentanyl that's available within our community and our county. And I think we really need to take a strong look at how we're dealing with mental health and drug addiction in this community. And so that's something that is a top priority for me, because I believe a number of cases that come through the DA's office has some element of mental health and addiction in it. The other high priority for me, two others, a diversion unit. We've never had one in Tarrant County. We have diversion programs that are run by judges and courts, but to have a diversion unit within the DA's office, I think is going to make a difference, because our lawyers can look at those cases on the front end and determine if there are some mental health or drug addiction issues or needs that need to be met prior to those cases going through the prosecution of those cases. And so that's something I'm very excited about, working in the community, meeting with so many people, finding these resources, knowing that they're there, knowing that they're underutilized, and knowing that there's a place in the criminal justice system for us to use them. And then the final thing is just obviously the backlog of criminal cases. COVID happened. We have quite a few cases that are pending, 40,000 or so within the county. And I have a plan to reduce the backlog. It's going to encompass a lot of work, but it's also going to encompass facilitating relationships between judges, defense attorneys, law enforcement. And I think that I'm the right person to get that done.
I was going to ask you if you could elaborate at least on that. What are any specifics as far as getting that backlog of cases down?
Sure. I think the first thing we have to do is conduct an inventory of the cases that we already have. Crime isn't going to stop. People are going to continue to commit crimes. But there are some cases right now, and I know because I just left the office in August of last year, that have been pending for a very long time. And cases don't get better the longer they sit. And so we need to do an inventory of those cases and determine what cases are cases that we can try to work out quickly with the plea bargain, being fair and just when we do it, but also being able to separate those cases that we can plea bargain with the cases that need to be tried so that we can get those before the courts and get those cases handled also.
You talked about mental illness before, and I'm wondering how you can elaborate a little bit on what might that look like, because that is an issue, and sometimes there's violence concerned with those crimes. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Right. So you probably know that when Sandra Bland happened, there was a law change. And essentially every person that comes through the Tarrant County Jail goes through a risk assessment to determine if they have mental health needs. It's at that juncture when we know that someone has mental health needs, then we can start the process of getting them the help that they need prior to those cases moving and flowing through our criminal justice system. I mean, the sooner we identify the issue, the sooner we can get people resources, and the faster we can make a difference in, how that person responds, not only in our community but also in court. I think you probably are also aware that we have a facility now, mental health facility now here in Tarrant County for that purpose. But I think it's really important that we start the process earlier, and it's also important that we start the process before the people actually reach our jails. And so by that I mean there are individuals who come through the DA's office or through the probation department. We need to make sure that they have the mental health assistance that they need so that they don't come back. And so that's really important to me.
I wanted to ask you about abortion. There are some district attorneys in Texas, Democrats, who have said they are not going to prioritize those cases because they disagree with the state's law. Where are you on that issue?
Well, I've said on the record before that I think it's unfortunate that medical providers have to choose between their medical license and their Hippocratic oath and their ability to provide good reproductive rights, reproductive decisions to.
Yeah, and this is getting into an area that I do disagree with her on, and again, trying to nuance that with what she's actually saying, because again, don't want to put words in her mouth, and she'll talk a little bit more about that. So, again, I validated the data. I have my position on that topic. Again, I'm a hardcore conservative. I've done the research. It's not even enough to say that 98% of all doctors agree and all that. It's not even enough. I mean, if you take basic biology, you have that information ahead of you. But I did pop this slide up in another slide that talks to two separate studies that talk about when this is being done. And when you look at that, and you look at the percentages and numbers, and again, we'll bottom shelf this here on the next slide, getting down to the percentages. But this is the reason that it's being done. Coupling that with what she will be saying or has said, I can't remember. I've actually watched this once or twice. But coupling that with what's been said, in those instances that she's on, those should be that when they're based on the oath that she's taken, and the reasons behind, we need to look at each case individually. Those numbers, she's basically the overwhelming majority of those situations should be prosecuted according to the law, and that's something that, again, when she's elected, and we start going down that path, we're going to get scorecards, we're going to get data on that, and that's something that we make sure is being handled versus the vacuum that we've had for the last I don't know how long. But this is an area that I do disagree with her on. I'm not going to make any bones about it. I'm one of those people that, I don't have any, quote, friends in any of this. I have my beliefs rooted in research and data and things like that, and this is where I stand, and that's just how I am, and sorry if anyone doesn't like that.
Their patients. And so with that said, as a district
And
attorney.
here's one that was in Florida, and it matches the other percentages quite nicely. But this is, the numbers, the percentages that are broke out. This specific one was done for Florida in 2020, but it does give the breakdown of why those things are being done. So again, you can cite whatever, you can disagree, but like, as you'll probably learn about me, the data is the data. Whatever you want to do with it, it's on you, but this is the data.
I'm going to have to make the tough decisions of whether or not those cases are prosecuted or not. And the way that I'm going to go about doing that is, number one, I take an oath to follow the law, and I will do that. But there's a part to it that I don't think people really realize, and that is, as district attorneys, we also have a duty to see that justice is done. And so it's a nuanced balance, but you have to balance following the law with seeing that justice is done. And as I sit with you right now, Jack, I don't know how much justice there is in prosecuting individuals, especially those who have been raped or from incest.
0.15%.
For prosecuting medical providers for
0.15%.
assisting people in making that type of decision.
Well, I know under the state law as it is now that the state would prosecute the doctors and the medical providers, not the
woman.
Right.
That's right.
And so that's the law. And so you're saying you'd have to really see the specific case? That's
exactly right. I mean, I have a duty when that type of case has been investigated. I have a duty. I take an oath to review those cases, to follow the law. But I also have a duty to see that justice is done. And as I said, I don't know how you can find justice in prosecuting medical providers for assisting people who've gone through, in some circumstances, very traumatic circumstances, and find themselves in the situation that they find themselves in.
With everything I know about Tiffany Burks, as far as, again, the research that I've done on her, the articles and doing it, she's made the tough calls. I mean, she has, you can tell it's not something that she, I don't want to say enjoyed, but, that's something that she's like, well, I'm going to, I think this, or I think that. She has a documented record, which, again, you saw, I think, a small example of articles that showed that she has, regardless of her personal feelings, has followed the law and done her job. And so that's something that, I look to when I look at that information. And then also with what she actually did say, however you want to take that, or whatever negative comment, negative connotation you want to put towards that, what she's already said is going to impact roughly 0.15%. So she's going to be following the law, and she takes her oath seriously from everything I've seen and read. So we have that, but I won't belabor it too much, or I won't belabor it anymore. We'll just continue on with the interview.
Very long history in the DA's office, and so I know your opponent was a longtime judge. And so how do you think your experience lends itself to being in charge at the DA's office?
It's a different dynamic entirely. Judges have a very important function here in our criminal justice system. I don't deny that. But it's a different type of role that they have in the criminal justice system. They normally don't supervise very many people, just a couple. There's not a lot of policy decisions that have to be made. Unless they are a judge who actually takes the time to implement other programs and do other things outside of their role as a judge, and taking pleas and handling bail concerns.
And listen to what Phil Sorrells does say on that topic.
For the district attorney, though, it's going to require more than that. And the reason that I highlight the experience that I have, everything from misdemeanors to death penalty litigation, is because it is from that experience that I will draw upon to make sure that I'm making the best decisions for the citizens of this county.
Do you think there need to be wholesale changes to the way the department, the DA's office works?
And when you say wholesale changes,
as far as priorities, as far as, number of prosecutors, as far as, what is really focused on there?
I think what's important is once I become DA to start to look at numbers. I think we have to look at statistics and make those kind of decisions. The number of cases, the types of cases, the types of lawyers that we have, their experience levels in the office. There are a lot of things that are going to have to be reviewed before I can make any decisions on any changes that could be made. And I think that's probably going to happen. I think there's going to have to be some changes. I mean, we have a backlog of 40,000 plus cases. But to say, will there be wholesale changes? I don't think there will be wholesale changes. I do think that there will be required to have some changes, just because the number of cases that are.
And I also, because again, I've looked ahead and I saw Phil Sorrells' responses. And I'll just tell you right now, they are polar opposites on should there be any amount of change and how things are done. Relating it back to one of my favorite topics, 2503, the custody interference one, even Sheriff Wayborn has said that what we have today, it needs to get fixed. I mean, that's even Sheriff Wayborn said that. And it's, again, rolling that over here to what Tiffany's saying, sounds roughly the same.
Right
and
now are so
the
high.
courts.
And do you think that
The people.
the county commissioners court, there's going to be a new Tarrant County judge, as you know, some new commissioners. Do you think that the Tarrant County commissioners court is going to have to increase the budget at the DA's office to deal with some of the issues that the office is facing with? And how do you go about trying to get that money if you're elected?
I think, right now I believe the DA's office has about a 40,000 plus, 40 million plus budget. And I think that is probably sufficient for now. Until such time as I get into the office and begin to look at it, it's really difficult to say if we're going to need more money and resources. But that is certainly something that I'm very cognizant of, making sure that we are good stewards of the taxpayers' money and making sure we're not asking for things that we don't, that surplusage that we don't need. I'll make sure that we have, and we'll be making the requests for things that we need to make sure we're getting the job done.
I did have one other question, and I appreciate your time, and
Sure.
that is, as far as in some counties like Harris County, there's been a lot of criticism about the judges, in some cases releasing people on very low bond amounts. How big of a concern is that? Do you see that as a problem here in Tarrant County? And how big of a concern is that you'll be watching for that?
Yes. I don't see it as a huge concern in Tarrant County, but I'll tell you that it has happened. Judges are the ones who are responsible for determining bond amounts. DA's offices don't do that. But what we can do and what we should do.
I highlighted this, kind of picking on Phil here, is that he had initially, and again, this is keeping everyone above board and honest and doing the right thing and fixing errors, as it were. But Phil had made a post here, it was probably hard to see on the screen, but he did a tag to bail reform. And I went ahead and pulled the district attorney's role for Tarrant County. Again, each of the counties, some have slightly different, nuanced, things that they were able to handle. Tarrant County, from all the research I've done, and I did confirm it with people, is that they have zero to do with bail reform. That's actually a judge's job. Phil's old job, maybe he got confused on what role he was going for. I don't know, but yeah. So, but and on a good note, it seems like whoever his team is that's using Facebook and InstaSnap and TalkTick and all that stuff, they have since then corrected that, and they no longer have that in there. So that it's a good thing. Got getting that cleaned up. Or if he wants to prove me wrong, and they do. I mean, again, I'm not all knowing. But yeah, I mean, all the research I have shows that DAs have zero to do with bail reform.
Is if we see cases in which We think an individual might be a person who would abscond and not come back to court, or someone who could be a threat to the community in some way. We should certainly go to the judges and say, we think the bond should be higher because of this situation. And the law allows us to do that, just like the law allows defense attorneys to request that the bond be lowered. And so I think that the DA's office has been good about that, and I will make sure that we continue to be good about that. And I know that's been an issue and a talking point in the county. But I think that we have the tools at our disposal to make sure that doesn't happen.
Tiffany Burks, Democratic candidate for Tarrant County DA, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we continue to look at the Tarrant County DA's race and our interview with Republican Phil Sorrells.
I think, first of all, you can just look to the police is the first place to look. The police have endorsed me. You talked about the Fort Worth Police Officer Association, the Dallas Police Officer Association, Arlington Municipal Patrolman Association, Tarrant County Law Enforcement Association, the sheriff, Sharon Wilson. They're all saying you should select Phil Sorrells as your next district attorney. And those are the people that are out there on the front lines, out there on the street saying, we're out there arresting these criminals, and we want to make sure that justice is served in the courts, and the best way to do that is to elect Phil Sorrells.
So if you are elected...
Again, I was hoping just to let this thing run on through a little bit more, but I got to adjust my seat. I'm an old man. But, I mean, what makes you... Oh, everyone endorses me. Okay, you got paid endorsements, you got, you know, whatever behind the scenes. That doesn't say, oh, I mean, everyone should really think to themselves, endorsements mean nothing. And that's across the board. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on or whatever. This whole, my buddy vouches for, I mean, I could spend hours and days and years, you know, getting in. It's not how that works. It's not like, hey, I vouched for so-and-so. That's not how that works. But, you know, his lead-in was like, ooh, I'm cool because I've got all these endorsements. That doesn't cut any... It doesn't do it for at least this voter.
What are your top priorities?
Top priority is to get what's number one, to keep the community safe. We've got to get the courts working. We've got 40,000 cases pending in our county right now. It's a lot of cases.
And so what is your solution to getting that backlog erased?
Well, part of it is we've got to get some more experienced attorneys into the office. So better eyes, more experienced eyes on these cases. Most cases are resolved through plea negotiations. Less than 10% actually go to trial. But I've been a judge for the past 25 years, and I've tried so many different ways you can get a case to resolve without.
Yeah, so I found this recently. This apparently was the last person that went before Phil Sorrells in court. And it says, last year, Phil Sorrells wrote a bench warrant for non-appearance while I stood in front of him. He retired shortly thereafter. What the hell? I mean, is that the plan for fixing stuff? I don't want to put a word or a phrase on what this is, but do you really want, like, the DA guy handling it this way?
Setting it for trial, but it just takes that impetus that you've got.
I guess
to
that was
have
that
the case
whole,
set for trial
I handle it a bunch of different ways
that before they get moved. And so we've got to get back into the courts. The courts have to get moving. We're going to need to bring in some visiting judges to have more availability for trial, because the more you're available for trial, the more cases are going to get moved.
You mentioned crime, and I noticed crimes against people, violent crime, has gone up in Fort Worth.
Sure has.
This year. And so I'm wondering, what could you as a DA do to help turn that around?
Well, it just kind of, it's part of the answer about getting the courts back to working and getting these cases resolved. You've got a lot of people that are out on bond. I told you 40,000 cases pending. Well, most of those people are out on bond. They're either out on bond or on an active warrant. So they're not in jail. And if they're not seeing consequences for their actions, then they're thinking that there are no consequences for the actions. They're still committing crime. And I'll give you
that goes to what I hammer Phil a lot on this one, but the 2503 custody interference issue, which everybody except him believes is a very serious issue that needs to be addressed. He's the only one that's like, not a big deal. And this is the part where I go, what the heck? Because he's now said it like 3 or 4 times in different interviews that I've watched, is that if a person commits a crime and there's no consequences, they're going to keep doing it and get emboldened. And actually, he actually serves up here in a little bit a great example, which I've overlaid with just some other pieces of information. But again, you tell someone that, custody interference, which is a state jail felony, hopefully everybody now knows and can't argue that it's not. And he said that, but then at the same time says, hey, these people know they can get away with it. They're going to continue doing it, and nothing's going to happen to them. Kind of, something doesn't make sense there. But anyway.
Example, you have a case where a guy commits an aggravated robbery. Everything, he doesn't hurt anybody, he pulls a gun on somebody, he robs them. It's an aggravated robbery. He gets out on a low cash bail, and now he's out on the street, and nothing's happened to him. He hasn't had to go to court.
So I went ahead and just popped up here in preparation. Got preparations A through G. We'll get to preparation H here shortly. But so this is in order for Tarrant County, the calls that they've received over a 5-year period. The PC 2503 interference with child custody is number 12 on there. So the reason why there's so many calls on this is because everybody tells the person, and kind of instinctively, that if I can't get my kid, they look at their order, their judicial order, that says, call the police. That if it's not being done, you call police. Police are supposed to come out and enforce the law, the existing law that we had, and they're told, And then when the other parent sees that nothing happens, they go, whatever. And then, let's just see what Phil has to say about that. I'm going to rewind this just a smidge because I want you to hear the whole thing and line it all up.
And now he's out on the street, and nothing's happened to him. He hasn't had to go to court. He's just walking free, and he goes and does it again, but this time it goes bad, and he shoots and kills the store owner. Now we've got a capital murder.
Well, we had a situation here just last year, and we've had a number of them. So this isn't like, I had to dig for this one. This was just one that just kind of popped in. I did a quick Google search. So we have this custody battle. So again, the one dad was going over to the girl's boyfriend's house to get her kids. The guy pulls out a 12-gauge shotgun and blows him away. He's no longer with us. That's what happens with these custody interference cases, and it's happening more and more and more and more. Phil has eloquently described the escalation that this happens, because when the people find out that they're not getting anything through the cops, the courts, the legislators, none of that stuff, and I get tired of everyone pointing fingers at each other. We need to have our police doing their job, our DAs doing their job, and legislators, whatever. But everyone doing their job, or this is going to happen more and more and more. Phil's illustrated this. He's described it to a T. And again, knowing this information, he's like, don't really care.
Case on our hand. Or if we just would have handled him quicker before, we wouldn't have that problem. So criminals don't see the fact that there are consequences for their actions, and we've got to make sure that those consequences are seen more quickly.
I know in Houston there's been a lot of criticism.
I've made it. I've been asking for Phil's record, and actually earlier in the thing I was going to stop it, but I'd be stopping every few seconds because just the little comments he's made. He talked about his record. I personally have been begging for his record. I've searched for his record. There's not a whole lot out there on him, and what I've found so far isn't flattering. or anything, and I popped a couple of these up here. I mean, again, they had the Facebook thing where his last day or act, I don't know if he was the last one, but the last person he saw, he issued a bench warrant for non-appearance, and the guy was standing right in front of him. I don't know what that says about you. He's also a kind of a tough guy here. So, and again, this is the article from some years ago. So a girl here was standing in there, and she was popping her gum, wearing a disrespectful clothing in court. So she wasn't dressed as she should be. It looks like it had brat and naughty and all that. So what did he do? How did he handle that? Everyone has to accept the consequences for their actions. Miss White just had a poor attitude. White 24/7 was in court on misdemeanor charge of criminal mischief, accused of breaking a window. She her t-shirt and while in lock. Okay, so he threw her in jail. Threw this kid, it's a girl. I'm sorry, I don't want to say it. She was 24. She's not a girl. She didn't appear in court the way she's supposed to. Okay. And that's how, and again, I haven't been able to find, there's only a few things I've been able to find on Phil Sorrells in the newspapers. So, there's not a whole lot to go on. And again, when he talks about his record and, when you see my record, I would love to see the record because in a way, I want to be wrong. In a way I want to be wrong is because so far, Tiffany Burks sounds like the most solid candidate based on all the information that we have to work with. She's got a documented record. I have zip from him. I'm like, hey, show the data. And it's like, if he's got, oh my God, when I was the judge, I did all these billions of things and and I can efficiency run. It's like, oh, okay, he's the best candidate for the job. Show it to me. All this other stuff that you've been doing and everything else, that doesn't hold water with me. And I'm not gonna be told to sit down and not do stuff. This information needs to be out for everybody. Everyone should be making the best decision. They shouldn't be voting color, or group or whatever, or just because you can collect a check or something like that. That doesn't do it. It's who can do the job. In the real world, we don't hire people based on that other stuff. We hire them if they can do the job, right? I assume so. So anyway, this is one of the few articles I was able to find on him. And again, I'm doing name searches. I'm not doing anything crazy. This is pretty bottom shelfy stuff here. But yeah, this is one of his claims to fame that made it in the paper.
Judges and releasing people out on very low amounts of bail. Do you see that as a problem here in Tarrant County? You were a judge for a long time.
Sure, for 25 years. We do, every once in a while, we do see some cases that I look at them and think, how did that person get out so quickly, so easily? Sometimes I know that the DA has had the opportunity at a few chances to say, hey, there's something wrong with that bond, and they've got it corrected. They brought it to the attention. The magistrates set a lot of these bonds, so it's not necessarily your elected officials, but then your elected officials are the ones that are actually responsible. They're the ones that hired the magistrates to do these things, and we've got to keep a better eye. If I'm elected district attorney, I will have somebody in those hearings. I don't care when they're having it. They're having it at 2 o'clock.
Okay, and this is another thing that kind of is annoying. Again, not a whole lot of stuff out there, but they were trying to get find different people to do whatever, and I'm going to talk about this here in a little bit and some other stuff. But this is one of the few times I found his name. Is that they're trying to do whatever, and they're reaching out to Phil to do something. It's like he was considered a front runner by many political insiders. Sorrells did not return messages, plural, left this court of officers. He's saying one thing, but then again, what little history I have shows the exact opposite. Don't get mad at me. Don't call me whatever and I'm a this or I'm a that. This is what I'm finding. It's like when the narcissist gets busted lying, they get mad at you and they get they're flying monkeys to do that. You all know who you are. this is what I'm finding. This is where I'm going, what the heck? But anyway.
In the morning, I want the people represented so that we can say, look,
which ones?
You're only looking at the defendants.
Boy, I'm just going. He represents the people. He does. He won't even he won't even debate. He won't even talk about stuff outside of generalities. I mean, the days of the slick salesman nonsense are over. I mean, I hope. I mean, if you people are that stupid, you're gonna get what you deserve. Is all it boils down to at this point. He works for the people. What people? He certainly, I guess, not blue and whitish collar workers, office folk, and stuff like that, and the trashmen, the restaurant workers, the janitors, the engineers, normal people. I mean, who is he for? Who has he come out and said anything? How has he earned anyone's vote? I mean, I'm seeing he's like, yeah, look at my record. Well, I'm not going to give you my record. Oh yeah, I'm here for the people to serve them, but I'm not going to debate and tell you why I'm the best guy for the job. I don't know. I mean, the words and the actions aren't matching up at all, and that's just my huge concern. And if people are like, I'm still going to vote for so and so, I mean, then you're stupid. It's just, and I'm sad that unfortunately I'm going to suffer the consequences of your actions.
Reasons why he should get this bail. I want to tell you about why the victim thinks that you should have a higher bail. I want to tell you about the risk to the community, why he should have a higher bail. So we're going to be there advocating for the people.
I wanted to ask you about abortion because some district attorneys who are Democrats who are in office have said that they are not going to prioritize those cases. Where are you on this issue?
Well, you brought up the Democratic DAs that are doing that. They're not just doing that with abortion, they're doing it with lots of cases. And that's what you're seeing all over the country. Democrat-led district attorney's offices aren't enforcing the law. And you've seen lawlessness, and you see it on the news, you see it on TV.
And how are you?
All the time. As it relates to abortion, I'm not a legislator. I'll enforce the law. The law is, I'll follow the law. Whatever they want to make illegal, then my job is to follow that law. The legislature are the ones that make the law.
As we discussed, I mean, you were a judge for 25 years. Your opponent has been in the DA's office for a very long time and has worked at the very higher levels of the DA's office. And I'm wondering, as far as you're concerned, what does being judge lend you as a candidate for DA and as a DA if you're elected?
Right. I've had also experience in the district attorney's office prior to being a judge. The one thing that you can look at me is my record about when I'm in charge. What will I do when I'm actually in charge? Not when I'm following orders from somebody else, like the elected district attorney.
I mean, he keeps saying this, my record, and he doesn't produce anything. He refuses to. It's like, how can you do? I just don't understand. And then how can anyone buy that nonsense? That's the crazy thing. And then again, I found an article here from a couple years ago where Sorrells, he overturned conviction of a feed store owner, and it was because it was an indecipherable trial transcript. So he just basically overturned it, kicked it back. I mean, again, I'm trying to find his record, and this is the kind of crap I'm finding. I can sit here and show you pages on pages on Tiffany Burks and how she has put criminals in jail. Ones that are fleeing. This one person, killed a kid, and she made it sure he went to jail. I mean, and then I'm like, but he sits here and tells people, this is that part people have to think for half a second. Just because someone says something to you, look past it. We are way too old, I hope, to believe I'm just going to say something smart. My record. Produce your record. Show me some stuff. I mean, hell, you were sitting there bragging when the one time you were on Larry O'Neill's show, you were bragging about you were an up-and-coming superstar with the breathalyzer thingy. I got you on the dates. Just let's just put that out there right now. I totally nailed you on the dates. And then it's going to be in this. I added it, but there's even more on top of it. This is the stuff I'm talking about. And for you turn your brains off, Sorrells lovers that are going to vote for him no matter what, and you get mad at me for pointing this out. Well, you know what? It's on you, because this is the data. Get mad. Are you just mad? I mean, again, it's like, narcissists. They get mad when they get found out to be, liars or stupid or whatever. I mean, I got nothing.
But when I am in charge, and I've been in charge for 25 years, and you can see that when you put me in charge of a court, that was the most efficient court in the courthouse. It ran on one of the smallest budgets.
Yeah, here's one. Okay, so efficient. I'm the blah, blah, blah. Here's the article, or here's like the third part of the article from when he was the up-and-coming superstar, whatever the heck it was, on the the whole DWI devices and everything. It's in black and white. Hate me because I'm bringing the information out. That's on you. But this is the efficiency in getting stuff done. It says in black and white, it shows that only 83 of 557 defendants in pending repeat offense DWI cases have installed the devices. Is that... I mean, let me pull my calculator out here real quick, because I'm really bad at math. Actually, let me grab my phone here, because this is the thing where I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is what is it? I'm efficient. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So let's see. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna round up. 15% compliance. I should just 15. Do the math yourself. 15% compliance. That's efficient? If that was what I was standing on, I would be fired. I would be laughed out. I would not be able to get a job anywhere. But you all, oh God. That's why I get so amped up. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
In the courthouse, I will do a good job when I'm in charge. It's not just the fact that, okay, so somebody is following policy from somebody else. When they actually get to set policy, we don't know what they'll do.
And you brought up a little bit about the budget, and I'm wondering, because of the backlog that we discussed before, does Tarrant County need to spend more, increase the budget for the DA's office? And there's going to be a new Tarrant County judge, a lot of new members on the Commissioner's Court. And so how will you go about that if you believe that's necessary? And do you believe it's necessary?
I don't believe it's necessary to have more money. We have the lawyers, we have the positions available right now to handle a bigger caseload than what they're currently handling. We have open positions. So if we fill those positions, we'll have enough lawyers to handle more courts. If they bring in visiting judges, we have, in every court is staffed with a certain number of lawyers. In misdemeanor, it's 2 to 3 lawyers. In felony, it's 5 lawyers. You've got grand jury lawyers. Then you have special victims units, different units. You have a gang unit. You have an elder fraud. You have sexual assault of children, adult sexual assault, just various different groups that are outside of that, so they can handle other courts to hear more cases.
You know, I did have one other.
This was a case, again, I've done my research. A woman accused of planning a fake bomb gets her day in court. So Phil Sorrells is trying this case. I've done word searches for what happened out of that. This is, again, he may have thrown the book at her or not thrown the book at her or whatever. But again, I think this person, did a fake bomb. I think it was like some from the other articles that I've read. This person was involved in like the getting fined for different things and all that for building stuff or whatever. But I haven't been able to get like what the response was or what was the outcome. And that's the kind of stuff. I've done as much research as I can, but then produce your record. And again, it's not like I'm not asking to be like, oh well, show me your record. It's show me your record. And if you don't want to show your record, that tells me something, that you don't want to have your information out. I mean, you're not right for the job is the only thing I can think of. It's going to hurt your chances. You're open to ride the red wave in.
Question, Judge, and that was just about, do you believe that there need to be big wholesale changes to the office?
No, I don't think that, the office, as far as wholesale, as far as changing the whole dynamics of the office.
Yes.
We do need to get more experience in the office, and we've got to get that in there. That's the most important thing.
Phil Sorrells.
And that's the one. Oh, well, I can't say that's the one. There's so many. Whoa, is all I can say to that. I mean, he thinks that everything's running great in Tarrant County District Attorney's Office. Wow. And again, he is aware of, well, okay, let me take it back. I mean, he's aware of PC 2503, but since he's not going to do anything about it, and it's a who gives a crap issue, okay, I guess in his defense, he doesn't think there needs to be any changes. For the rest of the population in Tarrant County, I think we can disagree on that point, that we do need to have some changes, and we need to at least review what we have and go, where can we make some changes? How can we become more efficient? Report cards would be a great opportunity for the people. I would volunteer for that one. But to say that everything's just run smooth, he's just going to slide on in. Now, I did have an article that I do want to bring up. It's not good timing here, but it'll be here in a bit, because it makes you think. Things will make you go, But anyway, I left up Tiffany's. Again, this is talking about experience. 1999. Been doing it a while. Gun girl.
Republican candidate for Tarrant County DA. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for your time.
We appreciate it. We are inside 1 month until the midterm election, and there's a lot to talk about nationally and here in Texas. Major Garrett, CBS News chief Washington correspondent, joins us.
Okay, I don't know what order I put this stuff in. So this is another thing. And again, this information is freely available. It's not a witch hunt or anything. This is all freely available. So Phil Sorrells' campaign report, $300,000. He's received like $300,000 that we know of. $300,000 for a district attorney race in Tarrant County. Seem to remember another one where a whole bunch of money from outside influences got pumped in. I mean, with all that money coming in, do you honestly believe that you would then owe some people some favors for getting elected? And again, and if you look at the donations, the donation amounts $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, stuff like that. Now, I'm going to talk to 99% of the folks in Tarrant County. I know there's a lot of money in Tarrant County, but I'm going to talk to 99% of you here. Who the hell has $1,000, $500 to send to a candidate? I mean, who would do that? I think we all know who would do that. And do you want the person owing favors to the guy or to the person that gave a $10,000 contribution? I mean, we already know what happens in family court with the pay to play. I mean, that's a given at this point. If you don't believe that, you're stupid, or some other issue that you have. A DA's race getting this kind of money, that's crazy. And if you don't like make the connection, I can't help you. I just don't even know what to say to that. So, we have $300,000 ish here for Phil's. So here we have Tiffany's. So she's received $69,000, quite a bit actually, and good number there. And like when you look at the money she gets, $5, $10. I thought I saw a $20 in there. I mean, I quickly scanned. Again, this information is freely available. Don't believe a word I say. I'm a whatever. I'm a mouthpiece for the whatever. But check it out yourself. I mean, isn't that more indicative of who the normal people are? The non 1%ers and things like that. That this all should be for. And I mean, yeah. So again. Make your mind up. I mean, I mean, if I can't convince you with
Tarrant
this
County,
type
and
of stuff,
Phil Sorrells is a former criminal.
Yeah, I forgot about this one. All right, so this is during the primaries. So this is when Phil was going against Matt Krause, and listen to what he says. I'm going to say he's endorsing Tiffany Burks at this point, because listen to, in his own words, what it takes to do the job.
Judge in Tarrant County, Sorrells emphasizes his legal background as key to becoming district attorney.
I've dedicated my entire career to working at the courthouse. I have 30 years of experience at the courthouse. My opponent has 0. So it's a clear choice.
Krause says, now we focus on the open seat for Tarrant County District.
Oh, it cut off beforehand. So if you listen to that clip, and I'm hoping you gathered from it what's in there, Phil said that, he has, his entire career is at the courthouse, not the DA's office, but at the courthouse, and his competitor has 0 experience, and that's why he's the clearest choice. Conversely, we have Tiffany Burks, who has since 1999 district attorney experience, or assistant district attorney experience, a resume miles long of cases and making the hard decisions and doing those things. I can't find anything, and Phil Sorrells can't, won't, whatever, doesn't think I'm, that the people, me, whatever. And again, I'm a voter. I will be voting in this election for either one of them. So this isn't I'm some guy from Minnesota or something that has 0 input on the whole thing. I'm a voter. He owes me an answer, and this is how it's being handled. And again, tomorrow, if I get an email or a phone call that says, "Hey, here's my record," and I go, "Holy crap, he's done a buttload of work. Let's, slice and dice through it." The only things that I could find on him were mostly negative, and that's just because the search engines, it's a newspaper crawler that I keyword search, for whatever reason, decide to omit all of this information. I'll be the first one to come on and say, "Yeah, I was wrong." That's how I am. And again, earlier in the thing, Tiffany and I disagree on that one topic. And we I know where I'm at. I'm a hardcore conservative, and all of that really means not the fakies that most of y'all are. But I'm a hardcore conservative, and I listened specifically to what she was saying, and we're going to take that further. But I get so flustered because I have so much information, and again, I was able to show some of it here. And again, you've got to make the right decision. You've got to think through this before November 8th. That is an important election. This election is important. There's just not a whole lot else that should be said about it. And again, Phil, I still have a document or two that I will be putting out there that kind of talks about, we'll say character. And hopefully y'all know what I'm talking about. Kind of holding that back to the right time. But again, Phil or folks in the Phil camp or whatever, if you have, or you know what, point me to the right direction. I don't need to be spoon-fed like most people. I will go out and search for the information. I've done it. I've done it for both candidates, and that's what I came up with. So, again, I just want the information. I've got no friends in this fight. I'm going to vote for the person that is best able to do the job. And again, hands down, based on the information I have today, that's Tiffany Burks. So do what you will with that information. All right, well, I've got nothing else. Just to give you a quick idea, I spent probably about 6 hours putting that together. So, show me a little love on this. Like, subscribe, comment, do something with the information, get it out to people so they can see and make an educated or an uneducated decision, whatever way you want to look at it. Get this information out there. That's all I can really say about it at this point. It's gonna, again, shows that interview with both candidates, shows their position, their temperament, along with my little bit of comedy in there that you can research and see if I'm lying or not. Again, that's where it's at. Anyway, I'm going to go back to listening to Metallica, so you all have a wonderful rest of your day.